Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Cancer full moon. It is the first full moon of the year. We're only 3 days into 2026, and it's opening with a bang. We're getting lessons right away for our winter story, which will last us into March when we'll have the spring equinox. So, what is this full moon about? Well, when we look at a full moon, we always want to look at the sign that the sun is in because that's what's illuminating the moon and that's what the moon is catching. Well, the sun has been in Capricorn since the winter solstice, and then we've seen other planets trickle in there. We saw Venus go in there on Christmas Eve, and then we saw uh, Mercury go in there on Christmas Eve. Mars has been there for a bit. He's leading the pack. He got him there around the December 4th full moon in Gemini, but they're all catching up to each other. And that's what we really need to look at today, because it's not just the sun that's bearing down on the moon. It's the sun and Venus and Mercury and Mars all looming over this poor little old moon in its home domicile of Cancer. Well, okay, so we have a Capricorn sun illuminating the moon. The sun is in Saturnian signs now. I know that light is coming back. That's why we always celebrate the winter solstice, because light is returning to the world. We're past the dark days of Scorpio where the light is waning, and the light is winning now, okay? But it's still slow days. And we have two Saturnian signs in a row. We have Capricorn and Aquarius. And the sun is as far as it can be from Leo, which is where it rules, especially when it's in Aquarius, because it's literally 180 degrees opposite of Leo when it's in Aquarius. So what does that mean that we have the sun and Saturnian signs? Well, things are cold. If you're in the northern hemisphere here in the States, it's winter. But esoterically, we're looking at things that are pruned of their dressing. All the leaves are off the trees and we have the bare branches. So when we get in Saturnian signs, we're looking at reality, we're looking at form, we're looking at structure. Harsh things that may cause us to, as far as the sun goes, the sun wants to be warm and connected and masculine, right? But in these Saturnian signs, you could find that people are a little bit more in their head. It's always a bit strange that we have Valentine's Day in Aquarius season. Granted, we have the Leo full moon every Aquarius season, and the Leo full moon is extremely loving. But it gives you an idea of what the moon is trying to catch from that Capricorn sun at this time. So, it is the light of structure. It is the light of form. And we look at yin and yang in these situations. So the moon in its home sign of Cancer, which is water, and it is a watery planet, satellite, is formlessness. And formlessness is what reflects back to the masculine sun, its form. Okay? Two Saturnian signs, Capricorn and Aquarius. Saturn is more of the passive feminine version of Saturn. It's about endurance. It's about hoarding. It's like, how long can you hold onto your moral fiber? All the way to the top of the mountain is what Capricorn says. However long it takes, until death, right? That's the Saturnian boundary, the Saturnian line, the Saturnian structure. In Aquarius, Saturn is more active and masculine, and so it's about expression, and its shadow isn't hoarding. The shadow of endurance is hoarding. The shadow of expression is chaos. And you can see how Leo is the opposite sign of Aquarius because it's very similar. It is an expressive, individualistic sign. And I wouldn't say that its shadow is chaos. Its shadow might be more like pride, but we'll save that for the February 1st Leo full moon. I say that because opposite signs contain pieces of each other, and we are talking about a full moon here, and what the moon is doing to reflect the light of structure and form back to that Capricorn sun, that masculine sun, to say, oh, okay, the feminine has come in here and balanced me out. What I'm saying is that there aren't 12 signs, there's more like 6 pairs. And so Cancer, so they are opposites, right? Cancer is about assimilation and inclusivity. It is a very kind of nationalistic sign. It is a very family-oriented sign. We have it every year around 4th of July, right? It's very much about food and mothering and family and, oh, here's little cousin Timmy, like bring him over and get him a corn dog too. That's that Cancer energy, right? Um, Capricorn, however, is very exclusive and it's more focused on status. Oh, little Timmy is, like this angsty goth cousin. Like maybe he can go sit at the kids' table where the adults, separate from where the adults sit, and we can sit over there and talk about who got married and who died this year, or whatever adults talk about. And he can go over there and listen to his angry music on his, his earbuds or whatever. We talked about that last time, that 1964 Norman Rockwell painting where there's a little girl at the top of the stairs in the shadows looking down at a Christmas party through a little kind of like, almost like a peephole, looking down the angle of the stairwell. And there's all this light and everybody has cocktails and they're all dressed up and they're all older. And that's that Capricorn-Cancer dynamic of, you can retreat into your shell, into the interiority of your feelings where you're still a child, or you can go into the Capricorn world of law and order, right? So they're both very family-oriented signs. That's the unity, is that they're both interested in tradition. And so the bottom line in the Cancer-Capricorn axis is attachment. Capricorn's more attached to the strict law and order, and Cancer's more attached to sentimentality. Oh, I give little Timmy, a corn dog, whereas, the kind of maybe the grandfather or the father in Capricorn, could be the mother too, and depending on your family structure, is like, well, he can eat, but he needs to go sit over there. So that's the yin and yang that we're balancing here. And that Cancer full moon says to the Capricorn sun, I will reflect the light of structure back to you so you can continue having, well, when the sun's in a sign for 30 days, he just has dominance. It just influences world events and our kind of 3D consciousness for 30 days. I will reflect that back to you, but I will do it in my own way. I will do it actually in a way that I actually have rulership over Cancer. So I'm going to do it in a way that's extremely emotional and extremely fluid and formless. And what I'm going to show you is that if you're all about law and order and keeping tradition and preserving lineage across linear time, we need to bring the spirit of what we're doing to the forefront. So if we're having a family reunion and everybody from grandpa to dad to goth cousin Timmy are involved, that Cancer full moon says, let's make that top of mind right now. Okay, we break bread together, we're bonded by blood. At the end of the day, family is family. Now, we may have structures. The sun may put structures in there. You go sit over here and you don't listen to what we have to say because the adults are talking over here. But, you're still allowed to eat and you're still included per the Cancer moon. Okay, so a lot of times Cancer can be that kind of nationalistic spirit, right? I did mention that the sun is in Cancer every time that we have the 4th of July in the U.S., Day of Independence. You have to wonder if these things are coincidence or, that they were planned, because the moon is at the degree of Cancer also that we associate with, because the sun goes into Cancer around June 22nd. So it gets several degrees into Cancer before we get to July 4th. And that's the degree that the moon is at, typically kind of right around that time of year where the sun's at in early July. And that's aligned with the star Sirius, some esoteric lore here, which is supposedly a star that's beaming down emancipation consciousness to people, which would be very hand in glove with writing something like a Declaration of Independence for a leading democratic nation in the world. So that just gives you a little bit of like maybe a global look at what might be happening in your personal life, where there may be some inclusivity, exclusivity memes, some work-life balance stuff going on, some questions about commitments and family. And we'll continue to talk more about that. But, the Capricorn sun is saying, show me my structure through the spirit of the tradition of getting together every year at Christmas or every summer and breaking bread. That's the way that I'll understand structures. I will accommodate that kind of squishy motherly feeling. You are my opposite. I like to keep things tight and orderly, but you are my opposite. And I want to see my structure through that more illogical, emotional side of things right now. And so you may have this tug of war going on in yourself between the dry logic and the perfectionism, and being like, I can't really explain it, but I'm drawn towards that person. I'm drawn towards this goal. I'm drawn towards this commitment. I'm drawn to be inclusive and compassionate towards some people in my family or my work family or my friend family that they're kind of like angsty goth Timmy. They don't really kind of like fit in, but he's been here with us since the beginning. So like to not include him would almost defeat the purpose of getting together. Like everybody's got to eat here. It's going to be these memes running through your life. But as I've been saying, going back for almost as long as I've been doing this channel, we've had the moons inverted thanks to the eclipses that happened in September. You can go watch some of my past videos about that. I'd go watch, I think, the Taurus. I'd watch the Taurus full moon for that one. But we're going to have the Capricorn full moon on the 18th. And so really we should have already had it. And because then we would have the Cancer full moon, and that would put water through the structure. You gotta imagine like a city like Venice, which is built on canals and stuff like that. Typically, we would have the Capricorn new moon, and we would say, okay, it's about to be a new year, or it is a new year, and these are the structures and relationships and commitments I'm putting in place. And that seems really boring because it's the most boringest time of year. It's early January, but the flood of Cancer full moon is going to come in, and then I'm going to feel like animated. I'm going to feel like, yeah, my goals can channel inspiration. They do have a purpose. They aren't just this dry logical thing. But the thing is we're getting the inspo now. We're getting the inspiration from the Cancer full moon now. And then once we prioritize our feelings, not like, let me just hammer down some goals and just go go hard on 2026 because it's January 3rd. The full moon coming first is like, you got to align with the truth first. It is conjunct Jupiter, the planet of truth. You got to align with your truth emotionally first. And then on the 18th, you'll build structures that are in alignment with that. So 2026 wants you to prioritize what's in your heart versus just, what makes logical sense first. So it's a signal that we don't have the full systems yet. It's a signal that we have to understand how we feel about systems so that we don't. I believe that this message in January is like, don't build false systems. Don't build systems that just make sense on paper and then be like, well, I guess my emotions will kind of like fit in there, like kind of contort in there. And I'll just kind of smash my feelings down just to fit in this model life. That's not going to cut it in 2026. So, and it's also funny because just a couple of days after that new moon on the 18th, we're going to have a slew of Aquarian transits. So all that Capricorn stuff is just going to get reformed immediately. And I think it's mostly because we're out of Capricorn lessons. We're done. Like Pluto was there 2008 to 2024, November. That's enough Capricorn for the lifetime. And the South Node was there while, he was on top of Saturn in 2020 during the pandemic. Like that is enough Capricorn for a lifetime for all of us. It's all Aquarius now. It's all about the expressive side of Saturn, reforming and being expressive rather than enduring things, reforming law versus just holding down law. But Capricorn does have an important message for us this early on, and it says you need to get your systems resilient. You need to get your trust alliances on lock, because stuff's going to start going light speed really fast. So yeah, another kind of end of Capricorn order was the January 22nd, January 2022 retrograde with Venus in Capricorn. She went retrograde right on top of Pluto, who was at the end of Capricorn. Man, you want to talk about like enough shadow of Capricorn, greed, control, mistrust. We got all of that back then, just like a second dose after Saturn and Pluto met in Capricorn in 2020. Both of those happened in January 2020, around the 9th to the 12th, and then January 2022, around the 9th to the 12th, and then we're getting this. And I'll talk about some stuff happening around the 8th and 9th with Venus and Mars. Venus is back there. So this is like, take the best bits of Capricorn, because there's not going to be a lot of linear time left in our culture. Speaking of time, Capricorn being about linear time and the Saturnian clock, and being opposite Cancer, the child, and being about the parent and status and structure. The child needs time to grow, and the Capricorn sun needs to be patient with the fickle ebb and flow of the Cancer moon. It cannot force a child or a project or a goal to grow faster. You should not be forcing yourself to speed run your emotions so you can just get to your goals faster. That is a big message of this full moon. You can't force a child to get to a developmental stage earlier than they're at. You can't have them speaking before they're walking, well, that's maybe not the best metaphor. You can't have them, reading high grade stuff before they're walking, right? They've got to go through this natural progression. And also once the child becomes more capable, you can't scare it. You can't be like, oh my God, like everywhere you're walking, there's a power outlet and there's a fork and there's like a ledge, right? Because then the child starts to equate action with danger. And that can be an extreme feeling that people are dealing with at this time, because they may be tapping into parental programming. They may go into the shadow side of Cancer, which is to retreat into the crab shell and be like, well, I'm not going to make any goals, or I'm going to play small. I'm going to set goals that are just, so small that if I don't attain them, then nothing's lost. And if I do, no one's going to make a big celebration about them, because, I don't want to really go outside my comfort zone. And so I'll just kind of like quietly try to, tiptoe my way through 2026. Another one could be, I'm going to set my goals and my standards so high that it's just like fortresses and walls around me, and I don't really connect with anyone or myself or my own goals. I'll just, I'll just be in this state of excess ambition. It could be another manifestation. But, the important thing is to not fit your feelings into these models, and to make the models serve inspiration. That's really the message of this time. And that sounds a little cliche, but it's a big kind of like self-care, and not trying to force and hustle your way into the new year. Work hard, Capricorn sun, but do it after you've aligned with what you want to work hard for, versus being like, well, I'll just take this because it'll make me look cool, or I'll do this because it's low stakes, and if I fail, no one will notice, and if I do get something, maybe I won't get a lot of applause, but it'll kind of like, I'll do what I've been wanting to do in 2026 next year. I'll just put it off until next year. Jupiter, like I said, he's near the moon, so he's really pulling on that you need to believe that other ways are possible. Capricorn can be very tunnel visioned, right? The moon being very fickle, feminine planet in Cancer, waning and waxing with the emotions. Jupiter says you need to believe that other shades and other perspectives are possible here. You need to allow these emotions to come forth so that you can find what your goal is. Intuition first, goal second. All right. And believe in the possibility. Transcend those limiting beliefs. All right. So I want to go a little bit more into the fact that it's not just the sun in Capricorn shining a light on the moon. I mentioned that Mars went into Capricorn where he's exalted at the beginning of December. Venus went there Christmas Eve, and then Mercury went there New Year's Eve. And they're all ganging up on the moon, right? Staring it down. Oh, you got to do Capricorn stuff, responsibility, timing, commitment, deadlines, punctuality, take on a burden. It's a long, hard road to the top. That kind of stuff can really scare the inner child because it creates this aspect of perfectionism and not feeling like good enough, and you can't measure up. And we still have the South Node in Virgo, which is like, I'm going to micromanage my way to a solution by using logic and make everything look good on paper, and then it'll feel right. Probably not feel right. It'll probably feel like you're going through the motions, right? So now that's not to say that the Venus Mars conjunction is bad. It's wonderful to have a Venus-Mars conjunction because it's a boost in our relationships. It resets them from February 2024, and prior to that, they met in March 22 after Venus finished her insane retrograde with Pluto in Capricorn. Yeah, that wasn't very fun, was it? But Mars is exalted. He wants to work hard to do something good and right in the world. He's really pulling on those moral fibers of Capricorn to stand up for law and order. And Venus is like giving him a prize to work for. She's like, I'm going to elevate my standards. I'm not a worker like you, Mars, but I'm going to cultivate and attract tactfulness and elegance and maybe not austerity, but cleanliness and being very conscientious and transparent about what I want, honest and full of integrity. So, but what the thing is that with these on top of the sun, or rather, the sun combusting them, that's more the technical aspect of what's happening, purifying that meeting that says we're going to be kicking the tires on all our commitments and all our goals, the ones that we make to each other, the ones that we make to ourselves. We're going to be asking if the ones that we make to ourselves are all about what other people think. Are we making these goals because it's going to look cool or escape the attention of other people? And the sun wants to purify that and say, look, this Cancer full moon is going to come in here and help us out. She's going to give us the spirit. She's going to be like the Star-Spangled Banner. She's the spirit and the reason why we're here in the cold digging ditches, because we do it for, the love of the nation, for the love of the family, for that feeling of inclusivity that it gives us at the end of a long, hard trek and a long, hard day. And so he's purifying. He's like, what are your motives? What are the motives that you are using to fuel these goals? Are they in alignment with your heart? Or are you doing them because it's like, well, I've had enough of everybody and I'm just going to set my standards so high that no one can get into my heart? Or it's like, well, I don't have a lot of worth, so, I'll just take anything that's thrown to me and, that'll be that. And I won't have to feel like I set a bar for myself. And, if I get something out of it, it's like pizza, right? It's like never bad, but it's a lot of times it's never even great. It's just good enough. Right. And you kind of want to avoid both of those sides of the spectrum. The sun's purifying that and saying like, hey, the moon's going to do us a favor. Like, let's listen to this moon. Like, let's maybe not gang up on it so much. Mercury's facilitating those conversations with ourselves and other people in that regard. So setting the bar too high or too low can be like a self-sabotaging thing so that we never experience love or success. That's kind of the danger, that the moon is like ringing this alarm. It's really loud because it's just her and Jupiter looking down with, looking up rather at all of these Capricorn planets at the top of the mountain who are all these, done a lot of these endurance feats. And they're like, we're just like working hard. What are you doing back on the home front? And Cancer's like, I'm trying to sound the alarm. I'm trying to say, come back here after you're done adventuring and get yourself a warm bowl of soup and understand that it's the journey back home to your heart. Plant the flag on top of Everest. That's great. I'm proud of you. But it's the journey home that is the real reward and the real thing that you should be proud about. You made it back. You decided to go back to where you came from, to your true heart that led you out there, outdoors, to all the danger in the first place. That's where the real success is. So, and then it's also saying, hey, get this soup because you're going to have to go right back out there. We're going to go right into another Saturnian season, and it won't be the top of the mountain where you're standing there with other adults talking about serious things. It's going to be out on the tundra, the icy plains of Aquarius, where there's all sorts of nomadic tribes and different languages, and there's potential danger because you don't know if some clan is against yours or not. But it could also be, you could win the lottery. Aquarius rules lotteries. You could just meet someone who knows something that you've been trying to figure out. You can meet a mystic, you can meet an astrologer, you can meet a tradesman, and he'd be like, oh, this is what you need. Just put a little bit of like wax on your shoelaces. We can get to the next town. Like that's Aquarius. It's highly connected. Still very dangerous, right? All this Capricorn and Cancer stuff is like, use this time to get resilient because we're going into not the shadow of Capricorn, which is more endurance, which was like the early part of the 2020s, which was hard. It was really harsh, right? Now it's the shadow of Aquarius that we have to deal with, which is chaos and destabilization and being like, whoa, like, where's my family? Like, are you my family now? Like, you're out here in the ice with me. Like, can we share like some hardtack and some like, some vacuum sealed beef jerky? Like, how are we going to do this together? Can we share? Can we do the Aquarian sharing thing of being humanitarian to each other? Yeah. So we're getting these new trust systems. We're building resilient, and the Capricorn sun is like, let the moon feed you for this. Don't make it all about getting to the top of Everest and planting your flag. It's all about where did you come from and where are you going to go back to before you go back into the, serious chaos, which is, building networks, building systems. So it's all about, a balance of duty and care. The parent's got to protect the child with form. It cannot scare or impose too much form on the child, or else the child grows up and equates action with danger or with inevitable failure that it cannot live up to, a success or a love that it can never live up to. The ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. It's in Pisces, the sign of mystery, and it is with the ruler where it has been since March 23. It is with the ruler of Pisces, Neptune, which has been there since spring of 2001. They're both getting ready to go into zero Aries in February on Valentine's Day, no less, 3 days before a powerful Aquarian eclipse on the 17th. All this chaos is going to come rushing out. And they're like, you got to be committed to spiritual purges. Look at all the illusions and delusions that you're swimming in. You're grinding, for no reason here. You're aligning with goals that just don't really feed you. And so we're releasing all these old models to make way for nurturing attachments. There's that key word again, attachments. And nurturing beliefs and nurturing inspiration. So it's really interesting to see the ruler Saturn. Moon rules Cancer, so there's no math to do there. It's really interesting to see the ruler Saturn in Pisces at the very end with Neptune in Pisces. And they're like, Oh, okay. So we might be at risk of setting false goals or perceiving that the ultimate goal is the top of Everest when really it's the real goal is getting back down the mountain. So then we can recharge, remember where we came from, remember why we are adventurers, why we're hard, why we do this. And then there's a sequel. We got to go out and do Saturn's other sign. And it's, oh my gosh, there's so much happening in Aquarius. It's not a typical Aquarius season this year. You go out into the icy tundra, into the horizontal field of Aquarius. There's so many people out there. It's all of us. So many people just trying to figure out where we're going to go next because we're walking away from the old capstones that Pluto destroyed from 2008 to 24 in Capricorn. All the marble columns are fallen. We've got to migrate nomadically to some new territory. Saturn and Neptune at 0 Aries will help with that too. There's a lot of reckoning with nostalgia. Cancer is a very nostalgic sign, for sure. I think that's part of why we feel nostalgia in the summer too. Remember when you're summer, you're at kids camp, you got that like lemon lime popsicle, barbecue at grandma's, right? It's very, very nostalgic. And I think that that's part of the purge that Saturn and Neptune are trying to do in Pisces. It's like, you got to be careful about some of that nostalgia, It's nice because they're in trine to the moon and Jupiter. So I think we'll have nostalgia, but we won't drown in it, where we just try to like recreate something from the past. We'll realize like, hey, like that goal should stay back in that season of life. It is the modern era. So typically, we've come as children to associate like celebrities and brands as parents, like kind of grew up with TV or the internet. And I wanted to, since we're talking about these dead forms, since it's almost a self-admission by Capricorn, like, hey, we will provide the structure, but really the goal is not just about achievement for achievement's sake, but achievement so that we can come back to our own heart and then take on the sequel even. We are seeing these dead forms. Capricorn is form, and that form is there to protect the child, but sometimes the child has to say, I've outgrown that kind of parental model. I have to reparent myself. And so you think about McDonald's, which, maybe as a kid you ate at a lot. Cancer is food after all. And it has maybe like a parental aura around it. I remember seeing a tweet that went viral on X, guys trying to order quarter pounder Christmas afternoon, DoorDash or something from McDonald's. And he goes to the site and it's all of these like terms and conditions that you have to click through even to get to, there's no Ronald McDonald, there's no juicy quarter pounder. It's, like going to the DMV and trying to get your driver's license. It's totally, all the spirit has been removed and there's just the cold, calcified, crystallized Capricorn structure there. And that's what I've been talking about too, is that's what's happening to a lot of these old legacy brands, is that you click accept and then you can get all the images of the juicy quarter pounders and the McDonald's arches and all that. And you enter these glass lands where you're barraged with, that's what's replacing Capricorn. Capricorn is the capstone in tradition. So you don't get the same old Ronald McDonald kind of vibe. You've got to go through these terms and conditions, and then you get in there and it's like glass highways. All these fast images come at you and it doesn't really stick. It's like you get obsessed about Sydney Sweeney's dress for the 24-hour news cycle, and then you're like, oh, like this is my thing. Like this is almost like when Batman movies came out in the 90s, it's a cultural phenomenon. We're having a cultural conversation. The capstone of the big tent society is still intact. Nothing changed after 2020. We're all still together and we can all talk about the same thing at the water cooler, and we can even agree to disagree. All that stuff just like fragments now. People are like, I don't even know who Sydney Sweeney is. What is this dress thing? Like, and it makes people feel very nomadic and adrift. So we have these companies that are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Paramount making a bid for Warner Brothers, Omnicom buying up, becoming the biggest advertising agency in the world. Various things of that matter. Disney talking about, investing in Sora, AI. All these things just becoming sequels and remakes. These glass lands of very kinetic images that try to replicate the sense of like, oh, it's like the 90s, like the Batman movie comes out, and then the next Nirvana album will come out, and then McDonald's will do their little like Monopoly board game gimmick where, I don't know if you guys remember that, but I think they've continued to do it for a while, but it's lost the craze, right? These trends just don't stick within our culture in a way that we can communicate to each other about it anymore. Most of us are all in all of these like reality tunnels that don't really overlap. And I think that 2026 is like finding bridges if you want to work with people and finding ways to overlap, because people are starting to get really lonely and isolated and alienated. The other death of form that I saw was the head of Instagram had put out an announcement, and someone was riffing on it on X, and he said basically the square photo feed is dead. When Instagram came out, we were looking at pictures of food, or like, here's my feet, on my morning jog or whatever, here's my dog, just this kind of life diary type stuff. The beginning of Pluto and Capricorn, the beginning of Uranus and Taurus. We were like, oh, smartphones are changing the world, but it'll just be like a digital version, a more hyper digital version of the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. And then as we get further along in these trajectories, Pluto and Capricorn 2008 to 24, Uranus and Taurus 2018 until April of this year. As we get to the end of these cycles, we're like, no, that stuff has made us like feel alienated. And actually, it's very inhuman, especially now because AI is like just making up these pictures of like pancakes and jogging shoes and dogs on walks. It's like, whoa, is that what I became? Like I just became some like cutout meme or caricature that AI could copy? That doesn't feel very authentic to me. Where's my humanity? Where's my spirit? Where's my authenticity? And so, the head of Instagram recommended making these casual moments in time in order to stand out on Instagram, which is what I've been saying for months. Again, as long as this channel's been around. We've got the North Node in Pisces now. The North Node will go into Aquarius this year. North Node is a lighthouse energy. It's pointing the collective to where it needs to go. And both Pisces and Aquarius are very pro-mystery, pro-texture. It's very pro-authenticity. It's not about the glass lands where you just sign up to stream something from the largest company in the world that has bought up slightly less large companies. Big fish eats a little fish, eats a little fish, eats a little fish. Like that's what all these conglomerations are becoming. The glass lands are like, oh, you just have like a little passport into the Disney library or whatever, but it's like NASA flying to the moon. It's like, oh, there's not going to be like another Toy Story phenomenon. We'll just get like AI in here and you can just iterate over and over again. So it's like culture, but not. It's very like just fluid and fast and frictionless, much like our society already. You go to a gas station, just reach your card, tap it, get back in your car, go through the drive-through. If you need something, order it from Amazon. You never have to friction with other humans. And I think that a lot of these threads are coming together specifically through communication platforms, right? Like when Ernest goes into Gemini, people will be like, oh my gosh, the way that AI is doing this Instagram made me see that the stuff that I was posting, I thought it was all original, but the fact that a machine can copy it, like I fell into the frame of Instagram because of the design of the medium. I hate that. Now I'm going to like do really experimental stuff. I'm going to do like really flawed, textured, candid stuff on Instagram just to kind of break that square, break that form. So it's the Capricorn sun and Cancer moon is like, what are the forms around you that are dead? What are the forms around you that you want to keep? Because we're going to be doing a lot of radical reformation when all this stuff goes into Aquarius in short order, late in January. That's what I've got for you today. I'm trying to keep these at around 30 to 40 minutes. I'm starting to do, well, at least I did one last week, trying to do them once weekly so that they're more digestible bites. And a lot of you guys said that you wanted to do that. So I'm into that. Just a few quick hits, as I like to say, I like to wrap up. I'm Zyphil Media on X. That's where you can find me posting about this stuff every day. I would encourage you to check out the newsletter that came out today too. Very devoted readership over there. It's a really great companion to these videos. And then another thing I'll say is, and I probably shouldn't highlight this because I do have a wait list, but I did have some people ask me to extend the deadline on the 2026 audio reports, which are 2 hours tailored to your chart with a month-by-month look at the cycles that are happening, like Venus and Mars in January, Saturn and Neptune in February, looking at how it affects your chart. You also get like a global news decoder ring with it. It's a 12-page document discussing those cycles and how they're going to affect, other people in your world. It's outside of the Taylor report. So I'll put a link to that in the description. Other than that, I also do one-on-one readings. So I'll put a link for that as well. But yeah, other than that, that's what I got for you for this Cancer full moon. It's so early in the year, but things are moving. Even Chiron is going direct, right? We just keep having these lunations where stuff is just going direct or retrograde, mostly now direct because stuff's going forward. So Chiron went direct on this full moon. He's been retrograde since July. He's been in Aries since 2018, just like Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. Pluto was in Capricorn 2008 to 24. Saturn's been in Pisces since March 23. He's almost out. Neptune's been in Pisces since 2011. He's going to be out. Both of them are out on Valentine's Day together at 0 Aries. Chiron will be in Taurus by June. Stuff is moving on. These old pains, Chiron is pain, right? The wound that we have to deal with. It's been in Aries, this lack of leadership that we felt. And what is Taurus? Authenticity, value, beauty. What is real? Even the flaw makes it more beautiful. You're seeing the themes stack up. Stuff's moving on and it's moving towards, you got to have more texture in your life. Or you could just plug right into the glasslands and pretend that everything's being taken care of for you. Oh, the institutions will continue to take care of things for me. They'll give me good entertainment that I can talk about my friends and family and neighbors with. No, it's circling the drain. It's like the tweet that I analyzed last time where Hershey's put out a Dubai chocolate product within 2 months, which was really fast, but it just didn't. It fizzled out before Christmas. So you're going to have to find ways to align with stuff in your own life to create that meaning. It's not going to be very external in the world. I mean, it will be, but it'll be really sterile and dead, just it'll look really glass and crystalline and, intentional, but it's really just, it's not really giving you anything to be creative with. You're just very passive. So very pro creativity, very, very pro authenticity and texture at this time. This full moon in Cancer is going to feed you. It's going to nurture you. It's going to put that soup in your mouth and say, warm your bones. Like, remember who you are. Remember where you came from. Remember why you're doing this. Don't succumb to drudgery. Don't just do things to go through the motions. You're here for a reason. And take that into this 1 year for numerology. Be yourself. It's Aquarius North Node. Be yourself. fire horse year in Chinese astrology. Blaze that path. Remember to believe that other ways are possible. Super important right now. All right, thank you guys for being here. I love having you here. Please drop a comment below. All your comments have always been really just gratifying to hear, and I think it's just a space for us to connect with each other as well. So jump in there with any questions if you want, and I will see you for the next video.